get ready to ride. Russ and the rest are gonna light up the sky. We'll break it down after the game with the guys. Hometown heroes with their own sports bar. The best coverage in Denver, don't go too far. Just turn on DNVR. We are
DNVR Broncos live, coming to you from Studio A, where the A stands for about that time.
What time is it?
About that time to make a podcast.
Hey.
Wow, it
A
is about that
podcast
Yeah,
that
pretty
is
weak.
There we
presented
go.
by DraftKings
Nice work.
Sportsbook.
I was sure you forgot.
Shout out to every single one of you in the comments for having my back. That's why I love you all. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, hanging out with us here today. You fellas just came back from Dove Valley, ever heard of it? And you have some updates. So why don't we actually just toss it over to Zach in sports?
All right. Well, you always start with the quarterback, especially when a quarterback named Russell Wilson is day-to-day with his second injury in just 2 weeks. Russell Wilson listed as limited on the estimated practice report because they have a walkthrough. I mean, that's
known as
about
EPA.
that's about as up in the air as you can get with where a player stands right now. He was not on the field during the part of practice that was open to the media. I tweeted it out. Coincidentally or not, about 5 minutes later, the Broncos tweeted out a photo of Russ appearing like he was at practice. So Russ apparently at the Broncos walkthrough today. The reason they had the walkthrough is because they had a Monday night game. And Russ was asked, is he going to play? And he said, I'm hoping so. And Nathaniel Hackett kind of echoed that and said Russ is doing everything he can to play, but added in that they're getting Brett Rippon. He's going to be ready if need be.
I think it's ripping time. I think it's ripping this week. I think it's ripping this week. I think all the vibes are pointing toward ripping. I think the late arrival of Russell Wilson, all that sort of stuff, maybe it doesn't necessarily point to Brett Rippon, but it definitely doesn't point to Russell Wilson either. I'm officially saying I think this is Brett Rippon week.
Well,
And I'm officially saying I strongly disagree with you.
well, I'll tell you what, the pod poll talked last night, and Henry,
Yeah.
78% of people
Yep.
want you to be right. They want to see a healthy Brett
yes,
Rippon
yes.
over an injured Russell Wilson.
Yes,
do.
everyone always wants the person they haven't seen.
Oh, we've seen Brett Rippon, though. That's the thing.
Yep.
We've seen Brett Rippon against the Jets. We've
Yep.
seen him throw 3 interceptions, yet still score 37 points and get a victory
There
for
was
the Broncos.
at least one defensive touchdown in there.
Okay, the offense scored 30 points.
Oh,
That is,
Jerry Jeudy doesn't catch jump balls anymore.
Jerry Jeudy doesn't really
23
get.
points.
He doesn't get
Jerry Jeudy doesn't really get thrown the ball.
That is also true.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Hey, Brett Rippon throws Jerry the ball.
He does.
Gives him those shots.
Hopefully he throws Greg Dulcich the
Didn't
ball.
have Cortland Sutton that game either, I don't believe.
No, he didn't.
Also, those
I
Jets.
would be shocked. I would be shocked if Russell Wilson doesn't play, and here's why.
Pizza bet?
Oh.
Maybe.
Okay.
Um,
okay.
Oh, no.
Let me finish my point.
Okay.
Let me finish my point. A lot of people are saying, what happened to Russell Wilson? He was so healthy his whole career, and then he comes to Denver, he starts getting hurt. That's not what happened. Russell Wilson's hasn't just been healthy his whole career. He just doesn't miss games. And so whether he's banged up one way or the other, he just always plays, much like Demaryius Thomas. Like, Demaryius Thomas was never healthy. He also never missed games.
True.
And that's just what Russell Wilson is. So that's why I think when push comes to shove at the end of the week, whether he's sore or whatever, Russell Wilson's going to say, I'm good to go, and the Broncos are going to say, cool, you're playing.
I don't think Russell Wilson was this banged up, though. Averaging an
Ever?
injury once every...
Maybe at some point.
Just on average, averaging an injury every 3 weeks. I do think he's probably a little more banged up than he has been in the past. But, Ryan, that's why I'm leaning your direction right now, is because Russell Wilson plays through anything and everything, literally, unless something's broken and he can't hold a football. That's the only thing that's ever held him out of a game. However, what I will say to Hank's side is the way Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett are talking about him playing this week is a lot more up in the air, questionable than the way that both of those guys talked about him playing, dealing with the lat strain 2 weeks ago. So it is more, I am more concerned about Russ not being able to play. But ultimately, Russell Wilson's walking. He's probably lightly jogging out onto the field today. I think he will end up going, despite, as we talked about yesterday, I don't know if that's the best thing for the Broncos.
Yeah, I definitely think it is the best thing. I definitely think he will play. Now here, I will make the case for the other side of this. And the one thing that I want to see is, what does the offense look like if Brett Rippon is starting? Because it's not going well. We would find out a lot of information about what the Nathaniel Hackett offense is and what the Russell Wilson offense is. Meaning, if they run Brett Rippon out there and things look drastically different, then it tells you, okay, well, Russell Wilson's influence on this offense maybe is hurting it, because maybe the offense goes out there and looks good. If it goes out there and they struggle and it looks the same, then you can say, okay, Nathaniel Hackett is holding back Russell Wilson.
But I just have to remember of some things that we've talked about in the past of how many times there's just open receivers. Now, it hasn't been in every game and it's not every play, but we're saying, man, maybe it's not on Hackett as much as we thought. And I think the offense would actually stay pretty darn similar to what it's been right now, to what we've seen so far. It would be more so of the Hackett offense, because it's about playing from the pocket. And that's not a surprise. Nathaniel Hackett told us all offseason, all training camp, that he wants Russ to win from the pocket first, and then if he has to, make plays outside of the pocket. And so I think Brett Rippon would be a good backup and fit in well in this system.
I do too. I do. I just, if Brett Rippon is actually better than Russell Wilson from the pocket, you've got big problems. I guess at this point, like, would anybody be surprised if the Broncos have big problems? No. It seems like we're on that path. But I just, as much as I think Brett Rippon is capable of, putting up 20 points and doing enough to win a game, you just, on any given snap, I can't say Rippon's going to be better than Russell Wilson would be,
And that's where we disagree.
Yeah, no chance.
Is because I think you guys are viewing this as Russell Wilson, and we don't have to dive into the conversation since we had the heated conversation, but I think you guys are viewing this as Russell Wilson, the guy he's been his 10 years in the league before this year. I'm viewing Russ as the quarterback that he's been in the first 6 games this year, and I think it's fair you guys give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just viewing him in this system right now, where in nearly every single statistical category, he's in the bottom 5 in the NFL right now, on top of just the lack of success the offense is having. It's not like the rest of the team's holding Russell Wilson back, and you guys said it can't get worse. Or it can get worse. It can't get worse when it comes to the offense.
It can.
No, it can't. The Broncos are the worst offense in the NFL, and it doesn't.
They can score less points.
They can.
But
if they're averaging 0 points a game, I would accept that can't get worse.
But here's the thing, Ryan, is that can't get worse when it comes to winning, because if the Broncos score 16 points with Russ and the defense still allows 19, it doesn't matter that with Brett Rippon they went out and scored 12 points. That doesn't matter.
Is worse though.
It does not matter. No, they are the worst offense in the NFL. It can't get worse.
Their ranking can't get worse. The offense can get worse.
But that's what matters, is where you are, how good you are. And so
no, what matters is just winning.
And Russell Wilson is not doing that.
I mean, he has twice.
The point is,
he has twice out of 6
but
tries.
he put up 11 points. Does Brett Rippon put up 8 in that game?
It doesn't matter then.
But then you lose.
And it was worse.
In what game?
The San Francisco game.
I mean, potentially, but
exactly.
It can't really get that much worse.
That's at least
that much
a real statement.
Yes, that much I can agree with.
And if we look in the past couple of games when Russ has been hurt, the Broncos have averaged, even worse than their 14.8 points per game. Wait, but Ryan, you got away from this. You are sure that Russell Wilson is starting this week?
Confident.
Why won't you take a pizza bet?
Oh, I was going to get back to that.
Okay.
Pizza bet.
Pizza bet.
Let's do it. Pizza bet.
So you got Brett.
I've got Brett.
You got Russ.
Yep.
Okay.
And we can only hope that I'm right.
We can.
I don't know about that.
I do. Okay. Quickly. The headline of the show, what can the Broncos do to get this season back on track?
One more news out of the Valley really
Oh,
quick.
right. Yeah. That took longer than I expected.
Yesterday, Melvin Gordon, after the game, Melvin Gordon was frustrated.
This is going to take the rest of the segment because I have takes.
Let's get our takes out quick. So after the game on Monday night, Melvin Gordon was upset that he wasn't talked to by anyone, told you're not going to play the rest of the game. Nathaniel Hackett explained it yesterday in a very confusing fashion about how there just weren't many plays in the second half. That's just wrong. There were 23 offensive plays in the first half, and the second half and overtime there were 32. So that's confusing right there. And he said we just kind of Latavius was playing good, and then he asked if he was going to have a conversation with Melvin, since that's something Melvin Gordon wanted. And Melvin and Nathaniel Hackett said, yes, we will. They had a conversation last night. Everything's good. He loves Melvin Gordon, so much so that Melvin Gordon is the Denver Broncos starting running back this Sunday against the Jets.
He was Monday too.
He was?
He was the starter.
This might be the worst thing Nathaniel Hackett's done yet.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What part of it?
All of it.
Tell me.
So it starts with not having a real reason to answer the question.
Okay.
There wasn't enough plays. Bullshit.
They're hiding something.
Yeah.
You had 9 more plays.
Exactly. Second, are you going to have a conversation with him? He essentially got, in my opinion, talked into having a conversation with him by the media.
Okay.
Finally, he gets talked into starting Melvin Gordon by Melvin Gordon. What are we doing here? That is not what the head coach does. There's no other way I can look at this other than he sat down with Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon was pissed off, and he ends up just being like, all right, you're right. We got to play you more. In fact, I'm going to start you this week to show you how much we need you and how much we care about you. This is just weird across the board, and it is not a good look for a head coach. That it, to me, and I feel like to everyone else, looks like he got talked into playing Melvin Gordon more by Melvin Gordon, and everyone kind of felt bad for Melvin, or I think a lot of people felt bad for Melvin Gordon, kind of seeing him on the sidelines looking so sad. Do we not remember why Melvin Gordon was slowly but surely removed from the rotation?
But again, like, the reason it's so surprising is that he had carried the ball 3 times. Like, he went out there and started the game, and then the decision was made. It makes sense if you made the decision before the game to say, like, oh yeah, we can't risk him fumbling. But to get to that point and then say, nope, actually no, that's not worth the risk, that just doesn't make any sense.
There wasn't a fumble that
No,
caused
there's 3 carries, 8 yards, not great. It is what it is, though.
The reason I say this might be the worst thing yet is because it screams to me, I don't have a plan. No rhyme or reason for really doing anything, and just whatever which way the wind blows is which way I'm going. And it's bad to me. This is bad. It's a really, really bad look.
Well, I think it's something that we're going to see culminating if things keep going this way for the Broncos and Nathaniel Hackett. There's just going to eventually be a narrative that Nathaniel Hackett is just way too much of a player's coach. For what happened in training camp, giving them every 3rd day off in terms of not having to practice hard, from giving the guys the preseason off to things like this, it's just going to be like, man, he just did whatever the players wanted, and the players weren't doing the right things and being too soft on this team when what they needed was the opposite of that.
What I think happened with Melvin Gordon, and maybe people disagree with this, I don't know, is that the Broncos felt how important the game was, and usually the running backs coach is in charge of who's going out there. And the running backs coach simply just didn't want it on his name that he put Melvin Gordon out there to fumble away the game.
Well, and I think more likely is that things were reversed. Is that, running backs coach handles all that. Melvin goes in there for the first drive, and then Hackett says, wait, what? We're putting Melvin in this game? No. We're cutting that out.
That's even worse.
That would have been a conversation that had to happen before the game.
You would imagine.
That's why I'm saying that would be the worst case scenario, Ryan. As bad as your scenario is, that would be even worse, because that would mean that a very simple, easy, weekly routine conversation didn't happen, and to game plan and not be in the same understanding, I hope it's not right.
But something crazy happened, because he played in that game and then was benched. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
And he said there was no communication to him, yet he didn't have his helmet on, which tells me he knew he wasn't going back in.
That's the big thing.
And at times during the game, he was sitting on the bench when the offense was on the field. It's not like he was right next to Tyrone Wheatley, helmeted hand or helmet on, ready to go in.
And a lot of times you hear, oh, man, this guy handled this situation as good as you can. You know, he was out there. He's coaching up his teammates, this, that, and the other thing. And if that were the case, I would at least be more receptive to then turning around and telling me he's the starting running back. But no, he was having a little pouty party on the sideline, you know, and all that. Then he goes on Twitter and, you know, has all the antics with all the tweets he's liking. And it's like, it's the opposite of what I was talking about. It's not he handled this as good as he could have. He handled it as bad as he could have. And now he's getting rewarded with the starting job because he whined his way into it, and that is ugly to me.
Well, and I think something that's probably the case is something happened on Monday night, whether it was something in the locker room at halftime. They just didn't trust him, like you said, Ryan. He wasn't playing well enough. Something came up. They benched him. And, Ryan, you have your take about that Melvin talked his way into it. Some people in the comment section are just saying, Alessandro says, we need Melvin. I said it all along. Jose says, Melvin can pass protect, though, better than Boone. And that could also be what happened, is all of that stuff was true. And then Hackett's realizing after the game, we're 2-4. We have to beat the Jets. And with the way this offensive line is looking and the way teams are blitzing us and getting pressure, I need to protect my quarterback the very best. And Melvin Gordon gives me the best chance for that.
Better than Latavius?
Yes.
Probably right now, yeah.
Okay.
Just a guy that's played more football. And we know Melvin's good. I'm not saying Latavius isn't.
I mean, he's bigger.
Latavius is bigger? Yeah, but bigger doesn't always translate to that. But I'm also not trying to say Melvin's bad. I'm just trying to think that could be a reasoning to this. It isn't necessarily the runner, but shit, these blitzes are getting home.
Yeah.
And we got to help out our offense.
And you just need talent on that offense. Like, you just need somebody who can pick up some yards. Like, again, like, there's just no strength for this offense. Like, your strength right now is that you have Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and that's a pretty average duo of receivers.
And let me be clear here. I was the first one saying this team needs Melvin now after Javonte went down. So I understand that part of it. At least from an optical standpoint, this couldn't have been handled worse.
Yeah. Well, and beyond that, my biggest beef with the situation is you took a guy who's already in his head and you made him even more in his head by putting him in this crazy situation.
Yeah.
Like, just try to steady the ship there. Don't provide more waves for a guy who's already fumbling because he's freaking out.
Well, we have heard that Melvin has gone into a drive thinking he was going to fumble it. So maybe he accidentally said that out loud, and that's why he got benched.
Oh, jeez. Or he was just very honest with the coaches.
I got a feeling I'm going to fumble on this drive.
I can't go back in.
And they were like, okay, well, we're never putting you back in.
Right. Until they're like, damn, we actually need you.
Oh, this is a bad situation all around, just for the Broncos offense.
And I'm happy we talked about it now, because this is something where if things keep going off the rails, we can look back in 4 weeks and be like, damn, that was just another thing added to the turmoil that's going on. And I hope that we're not having those conversations. I hope they get things turned around, because we were all so ready for this season.
It just, to me, doesn't feel like things like this happen to teams that are coached competently.
And there's just a lot of things, a lot of small things we can point to.
Right.
Already.
And like when Gary Kubiak is the head coach of the team, you're just not pointing around to like, wow, that's a dysfunctional thing.
Right.
That looks really bad.
Right.
Like, he's the one who's coming to the podium on Monday of every week saying Brock's going to start this week, Peyton's not ready. Like, no games, no none of this. It's just like, and that's just one example, you know. But like you never had remember when I broke the news to Isaiah McKenzie that he lost his punt return job.
Right.
And it's like that stuff, like that was a Vance Joseph thing. He told the media before he told the player. It's like those things don't happen to competently coached teams. This feels like another one of those things where it's just like, so you didn't have a conversation with him, but once the media asked him, you had a conversation with him. Well, after you had a conversation with him, suddenly he's the starter, even if that's all coincidence. It's the optics are so bad.
Yeah, 100%. And we still have a lot to talk about, but guys, first I need some help.
Okay.
Ooh.
DraftKings offering 2 great boosts tonight.
I just went through this for like an hour on bets.
One of them, more of a lock than Justin Herbert throwing a touchdown,
Yes.
according to DraftKings, which was a great thing they offered. And it just turned out for the second time in his career, Justin Herbert did not throw a touchdown.
But on our bet show, I said, be weary.
Yep.
And so we hedged it, and we ended up making a couple bucks.
Okay, well, are we hedging? Because DraftKings tonight is offering Kevin Durant to score 20 or more points. It was minus 1,000, meaning you had to bet $1,000 to win 100. They're putting that to plus 100, meaning you bet $25, you win $25. I love it.
I
Oh, no.
am middling this. You
Okay.
can't hedge it because you can't get the number at 20. Or else I would, because there'd be plus odds on under 20 for sure, big time plus odds. What you can get is Kevin Durant under 27.5.
Okay.
So and you can get that at minus 105. So you end up taking it on a tiny bit of risk, 5% risk, where if he scores 28, you end up losing 5% of what you invested.
Okay.
But if he gets 19, you're essentially covered. I guess if he gets 28, you make a little bit.
Okay.
If he gets 19, you lose a little bit. And if he gets anywhere between 20 and 27, you win double.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, that's the way to do it. And then the other thing on DraftKings that they're offering is a 50% boost for any bet. Well, what's the play?
I have spent all day thinking about this.
Okay.
And it kind of depends on what you have in your bet slip already.
Well, I spent all day thinking about how I was going to ask you, so you better have a good answer for me.
Okay, so first of all, I already have a Nuggets to win the championship ticket.
Okay.
So I didn't want to put it on that, but you could get it at plus 2,700 if you want. If you want to just have that in your back
Yep.
pocket.
So they're plus 1,800 right now?
Yep. Nice math.
Thank you.
You could put it on Jokic to win MVP, though a lot of people are weary of voter fatigue as it results on that. You could put it on Nuggets to get the number 1 seed in the West. This is like a really popular take from national media right now, is Nuggets to get the 1 seed in the West. That's at plus 550. So with the boost, it's like plus 800, 825.
Good math.
Thanks. I just did it. So using my photographic memory to remember the numbers. But after all of my deliberation and all of my decision making, I have landed on this, which I think will happen if the Nuggets get the 1 seed. But it's 3 times the odds.
Ooh.
Michael Malone, Coach of the Year, at
like
plus
that.
1,400 pre-boost, plus 2,100 post-boost. If the Nuggets are as good as we think they can be, and they stay healthy and all the things that you need to hit any of these bets,
Yep.
I think Mike Malone wins Coach of the Year, and we cash that bet.
I love that. I love it. That's a great pick right there. And you can get this over at DraftKings Sportsbook. You can also get $200 in free bets, which you could use on these and other bets by using the code DNVR when you sign up and placing a $5 money line bet on any NBA team. And if they win, $200 in free bets in your account. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR to get this, and make sure to see show notes for details.
And come down to the bar tonight. It's going to be a
Yes.
good time. Nuggets have their season opener, obviously. The Avs are playing, too. Tonight's going to be like our first big double-header watch. I guess there was Monday too,
Monday
but the
night,
vibes just... It doesn't work with football. It doesn't work the same way.
It's just the Broncos' nervous energy is
True.
Is just tough.
That is true. It's going to be a bunch of fun here tonight, though. I'm really excited. They play again tomorrow, too, right?
No, or Friday. Friday double.
Oh, Friday, Saturday.
Saturday is like a quadruple header because you have Buffs, Rams, Avs, and Nuggets.
I guess the Buffs are kind of fun.
They were last week.
They were
That's
last
all we
week,
can
exactly.
speak to.
That is, they were last week.
What's the spread right now?
In the 20s.
Okay.
Okay, that's not bad. Just sad. But, yeah, I mean, come down to the bar, come hang out, watch all this stuff with us. We have the tailgate on Sunday. Make sure you're getting your tickets for that. And also make sure you're getting your tickets for all the things we have going in London next week. As Ryan said yesterday, they're selling fast, so make sure you jump in if you're going to be out there.
Damn, Allie just cracked a severed lime over there. So
Going for your-
jealous.
Going for your heart.
So jealous. Speaking of delicious drinks, also check out our friends at Breckenridge Brewery. We're heading to London. Also, a bunch of the Breck squad is heading to London, so we'll probably run into them out there, hang out with them. I think I was told they have like 30 people going.
Oh, goodness.
From the campus over there, and there's a bunch of Breck Brew great goodies in our swag bag. I
love
just
it.
got a look at a Breck Brew hat that's going in there. Just if you're doing multi-event package with us, you're just getting a free Breck Brew hat on top of all the other stuff like our DNVR London shirt, pin, sticker pack. You're going to get a cool Breckenridge Brewery lanyard. All sorts of great stuff. And I haven't even mentioned that they make the best beers.
Yes, they absolutely do. I mean, that's the heart and soul.
Damn good beers.
They do it best. All right, guys, we got 2 things to do in this second segment, and let's start with the headline of this show. Is there anything the Broncos can do to change their season? And honestly, I had 2 coming into this conversation because we were going to have this yesterday before Russ's injury popped up. And one, we talked about it yesterday. Start Brett this week. We don't have to debate that since we talked about it. But my other one, can I go first? Is that
Yes.
okay? Someone in the comment section said, is there any chance Nathaniel Hackett gives play calling duties up? Probably not.
No.
But
I think there is a situation.
there's a situation, and I have the answer, I think, at where you would go for that. Because what you can't do, what doesn't make sense, and this is to turn the season around this year. This isn't about, like, what's best for the team in the future, because firing Nathaniel Hackett doesn't make sense. That's not going to help turn the team around. If you do that and you bring Ejiro Evero to be your head coach, that's for the future. That's to see if he can be a good head coach.
Yep.
That's not to turn around and win this year. So you're not going to give play calling duties to Justin Outen, a first-time play caller.
Are you going the same way
that
that I
makes
was
no
going? I thought I had a
sense.
unique take here.
I think we're probably going the same way. You got to go to someone who's done it before. Zach Azani has not done it before in the NFL. Certainly Butch Berry has not done it before in the NFL. You go to Clint Kubiak. Who knows Russell Wilson in the building better than Nathaniel Hackett? If anyone, it's going to be Clint Kubiak, and Clint Kubiak has called plays in the NFL before. So probably to do this, you have a scapegoat. It's Justin Outen.
I cannot-
You fire him. You promote Clint Kubiak to play calling, offensive coordinator, and then you're letting Nathaniel Hackett be a head coach. And you know what? One thing that Brian Daboll did, which blew my mind,
Yeah, me
but
too.
all of the props to him, was he gave up play calling duty. I thought that's what made him so good in Buffalo, was the play calling. Now, sometimes he didn't run the ball well, but look at them, 5-1, and the offense is doing enough to win games. Maybe this is a step that Nathaniel Hackett needs to take, and then you give it to someone who's done it before, and there's hope.
I thought all day when you pitched this headline, I spent a lot of time. It was the only 2 thoughts I had in my head are, what do I use this 50% profit boost on, and how can the Broncos turn around the season? And I thought, I've got a take that no one else is going to have, and this is well thought out, and you just nailed it. It's
Well, good
again,
thinking.
it's not fair to Justin Outen,
Right.
life in the NFL just isn't fair.
Yep.
And, sometimes a coach has to go to his buddy and say, hey, this ship is sinking and I have to throw someone off of it. I'm sorry that it's you.
Yep. And in that way, he'd be saying, here's a couple $1 million, too, as you walk out.
For sure. And hopefully a lifeboat.
Right. Yes.
But it's something that might have to happen. It is the ultimate ripcord emergency. And I just don't – you could just give it to Justin Outen. That could be your first one. It's just not going to inspire confidence in anyone.
Right.
And heck, Justin Outen could nail that opportunity. We have no idea.
Yeah.
And Clint Kubiak could also fail the opportunity. We have no idea that either. But it does feel like this would be the crowd-pleasing move, right? Everyone wants to hear a name that they've heard before.
Yep.
They're like, you say Kubiak, people's ears perk up.
Yep.
They're like, I'm in for that. I like that. So that is I think that is the ripcord. But it would be weird to fire your offensive coordinator and give up play calling duties in the same week.
It would be. It would be. And so last year.
Because you're essentially saying, but you really should have fired me.
Right.
Because I'm the play caller.
Right, exactly. And also, you shouldn't have trusted my offensive coordinator who I hired because now I'm saying he's not good enough. So it would be weird there. And Clint Kubiak called plays just last year for the Vikings. They weren't incredible, but they scored 25 points per game. They were 15th in the NFL, so slightly above average. But hey, that's 10 more points than the Broncos are scoring now.
It is. The tough part, though, is that if Nathaniel Hackett isn't calling plays,
what does he do?
What is the point of having Nathaniel Hackett?
What's
like
the point of having Brian
the
Daboll,
reason.
though?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you're still calling plays out of his offense.
Right.
True.
So that's why you got Brian Daboll, is because he brought his offense. He's just not the one pressing the buttons on game day.
Yeah, I just don't think. Like, you can pull the trigger if you want, but I do think that means you make a change at head coach in the offseason, because there's just that's his thing. Like, that's what you brought him in here to do, is to bring this offense, to run the offense. And if he can't do it, then why not bring in somebody who can?
I actually disagree. I don't think that's why Nathaniel Hackett was hired. I think he was hired off of vibes. I think that George Payton got in a room with him and was like, wow, our organization has this weird energy around it right now, and this guy brings so much positive energy. And I think he's smart on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's going to connect with whoever my quarterback is, whether that was going to be Aaron Rodgers at the time or someone else. And I think he's just going to make being a Denver Bronco an enjoyable experience again. While also at the time thinking he's also going to do a great job as just being a coach, being a communicator, talking to people, all of that stuff. I think that being an offensive play caller was a part of it, but not the main reason. The problem is none of that other stuff is working. And he looks horrible in his job as head coach right now as well as offensive coordinator. So you're right, I think, Hank, in the sense that any move you make is essentially just the first step to moving on eventually. And it might be a reason why they don't make a move, or it might just be what it is. And we're going to say, okay, they took play calling duties away from him. It's only a matter of time before they take the other title he has away from him as well.
Because wouldn't you want to at least just say, like, Giro Evero, everybody's fired up about him. He's a coordinator, though. At some point, he's going to get a head coach job. Why not just give him your head coach job if Hackett's not going to be calling plays or doing anything anyway, you know?
Because when I think of it right now, I'm thinking, how do you turn around this season, going from one inexperienced head coach to another inexperienced head coach, and likely hurting your defense in the process?
And taking away making every coach on the staff do more work.
What's your strength right now, you're probably going to weaken that. So that's why you don't do that right now. You don't fire Nathaniel Hackett right now, because when you do that, you are saying, from an organizational standpoint, the season is done.
Definitely.
But Hank, if they're 2-6 at the bye, maybe that's when you do it. If they're week 13 and things are still going in this direction, that's when you make the move, and then you do put Evero in that position to see if he can be that guy. Because you're right, if this defense keeps playing the way it is and Evero keeps getting all the praise he's getting nationally, he may be, despite what the Broncos are on offense, he might get plucked from another team.
He'd at least get an interview.
And if you want to make Kubiak offensive coordinator, not Nathaniel Hackett, because Nathaniel Hackett could go to George Payton and say, here's the move I want to make. But internally, let's just say George Payton wants to make Clint Kubiak offensive coordinator. Wouldn't you just fire Nathaniel Hackett and Justin Outen, promote Ejiro Evero, and then make Clint Kubiak your offensive coordinator?
You could, because then George Payton is admitting a massive wrong. Because he could admit...
It's better to admit that you're wrong on that than you're wrong on Russell Wilson.
He could... but
I mean... Or I guess it's better to be wrong on that than wrong on Russell Wilson.
It would be, but just because you do that doesn't mean it's going to right Russell Wilson. But if he tells Nathaniel Hackett, look, you need to make a move, Nathaniel Hackett moving on from Justin Outen is on Nathaniel Hackett. Because George Payton didn't bring Nathaniel Hackett in. And remember, that's not how... That's not... What?
You said Nathaniel Hackett, but Outen.
Oh, yes. No, Outen. That's not how it should be, but these things happen all the time in sports. It's CYA.
Yeah, of course. That's what everyone's trying to do right now. You're probably there right now, but you're one loss away from full-on panic, chicken with your head cut off, everyone cover your ass situation.
You very much are.
And that's Russell Wilson. That's Nathaniel Hackett. That's George Payton. That's every assistant coach.
And just think about this. I mean, the stories that could come out if the Broncos lose to the Jets of what a wild week it was in London, of everyone CYAing and covering themselves. It's wild. Hank, do you have any magical ways the Broncos can save the season?
I mean... That's the big one. Like, in terms of drastic, like, here's the one quick fix. No. But I do think Greg Dulcich showed that he is your best tight end. You got to keep running with him. I think Melvin Gordon is your best running back. You got to keep him going or make a move to get somebody else. Like, there's little things like that. But in terms of big moves, there's only one you can make, and I think you're mostly just admitting defeat at that point.
Yeah, and it's very fair. And let's hope the Broncos don't have to admit defeat on Sunday against the Jets.
And as we get into the whiteboard here, there's a couple things, at least one, actually both of the things I have on my whiteboard, I think are things that if you can get started, it can help you turn around the season. It's not one press this button to save season, but it's two things that I think if you get established this week, you can carry it through the rest of the season.
Okay, well, let's bring it up. Let's talk about our Whiteboard Wednesday, how the Broncos can beat the Jets and get one game closer to 500 and just try to keep their season alive. Let's dive into the first one. It's Deck the Hall. I'm talking about the Jets' best offensive player, Breece Hall, second-round rookie, looks good. In the past 3 wins, the Jets are 3-0. Breece Hall has only started one of those games. It was the previous one. And in those 3 games, despite only starting one of them, he has over 130 yards per scrimmage on average and 1 touchdown per game. That is top of the line running back play right there. Breece Hall has been their offense. We'll talk about how Zach Wilson has been bad since he's been their starting quarterback, and that's why it's so impressive that the Jets offense is able to do what they've been able to do and move the ball, and it's all because of this running game led by Breece Hall. He is the guy, especially with Zach Wilson at quarterback. To me, I'm putting 8 in the box and saying Breece Hall is not beating me this week, and if Zach Wilson goes and does it, okay, applaud him. Say, great job, you beat Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, this secondary. Don't let Breece Hall do that.
There's one that you didn't mention there.
If
you put 8 in the box, it means you're putting Damari Mathis in single coverage.
That is true.
And good luck.
Ryan, Zach Wilson in his 3 starts. Last week, he threw for 110 yards. He's averaging, I believe, 55% completion on the season. 1 passing touchdown in 3 games.
Don't give him free yards with pass interference then.
And 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
So maybe a little in exaggeration, because you're right. You do still want to help Damari Mathis out, but it's help. It's not like full out help. You don't have to send everything to Damari Mathis, but I'm doing everything to shut down Breece Hall.
And the crazy thing is, like, it's not like shutting down a normal running back. Like, they aren't just lining him up in the backfield and handing him the ball. Like, they're putting him at tight end. They're putting him out wide.
Yeah.
His big run
Christian
when they sealed it.
McCaffrey-esque.
Yeah, but I mean, even crazier than that.
Yeah.
But like, the run that got it to 24-10 and put him in position to seal it. Like, they just have him playing like an H-back type thing, and they run everybody to the right and they pull blockers back to the left. The whole defense over pursues, and then there's just nobody on the left side of the field, and he just swoops in behind and runs 20 yards for a touchdown.
And then at that same time, I mentioned those are yards from scrimmage because he's doing it as a receiver as well. 2 games ago, he had 100 receiving yards.
Yeah, they'll line him up as a pure receiver.
Yep.
Like, they'll put him and Michael Carter out there. That's the thing, is Michael Carter's a good back too. You know, you look at like the Pro Football Focus, it was going around Twitter today, but they say he's like the better back and he's graded out higher even than Breece Hall, but he's just speedy and so physical up the middle that just opens up all the edges for Breece Hall to when they overcommit.
I got Breece Hall number 1 overall in my dynasty rookie draft, and it's working out well for me.
You're feeling great about that.
Yeah, it feels really good.
So stop Breece Hall. Do whatever you can. All right, let's hit number 2 here. We've got enter witness protection.
Enter witness protection. What happens when you go into witness protection?
You change
disappear.
Your name.
You get a new identity.
Yes.
And that is what the Broncos need more than anything. They have to start this week developing an identity. I think this is the number 1 single biggest problem for this offense. They don't know who they are. And when you don't know who you are, you don't know what's coming ever. So it's you know, I said it once, I'll say it a million times, calling plays is like a story. Well, there's no story right now. It's just, it's like a 3-year-old with a crayon and a blank sheet of paper just scribbling. That's all that's happening right now. Every play is existing in a vacuum. You're not building up to anything. You're not using, if I told you, well, I mean, I know you know the answer, but if it's 3rd and 1, you need this. What are you going to do?
Sneak.
Well, apparently this team says we're going to go into shotgun and drop back. But a lot of other teams will say, okay, we're going to go to our bread and butter play here, whether that is bootleg, whether that is, you know, RPO, pick play, whatever. There's so many options. The Broncos have no idea what they're doing in any situation because they don't even know what they're good at yet, other than maybe 4 verts. It's been pretty successful for them in a lot of situations, although now teams are just going too high. The Chargers pretty much did it every play. In fact, at one point in the game, Cortland Sutton, they were in the red zone. They got Cortland Sutton in man. They just called timeout because they're like, we're not going to let him do that to us. So the Broncos need an identity. They need to enter witness protection, get rid of that old identity, whatever they thought it was, get a new identity. And I don't even necessarily know where it starts.
That was going to be my question. What's their identity?
But I think it has to go back to wide zone, especially if you are going to play Melvin Gordon, because if you're going to play Latavius Murray, it's a harder sell. Yeah. But if you're saying Melvin Gordon is our starting running back and we are going to ride him for better or for worse, you got to get back to that. That was what Nathaniel Hackett said when he was hired. What is your offense? Starts with outside zone.
Yep. And
we haven't seen it since like week 3.
No, and
at least consistently.
And Edved in the comment section says someone needs to ask Hackett about this. He was asked today about this, and what he said was 2 things. 1, the defense is taking that away, and 2, he wants the offense to be more efficient. And right now, the offense, he says, is more efficient in inside zone, so that's why they're doing that. And to me, Ryan, it goes to what you're saying. Your identity was supposed to be outside zone. If that's your identity, there are some games where it's smart to not do that because the defense is really good on the outside and they have those guys to stop it. But it doesn't mean that you completely abandon your identity. Then what were you doing all offseason? And that, to me, is a big issue with the coach. If you're just going to abandon it and never go back to what you've practiced all offseason.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like when we create a new product in one of our markets and a lot of work goes into it. We say, hey, here's the name of the segments and here's the name of the show and here's the branding and here's the cover. A lot of work goes into it. And then you start it and it's not going to have the audience that this show has right away.
Right.
But you don't just instantly say, well, no one likes this show, let's move on. Like you got to give a show essentially a whole year before you decide if that's going to be a successful show or not.
Right.
And that's how I feel about this Broncos offense. It's like you can't just abandon the whole thing that you started at the beginning of the season just because teams started crashing the outsides and you can't get Russ out of the pocket that way. You have to get back to it and be more creative about how you're going to do it. Pinch down on those edges so they can't go running after Russ. They're trying to have a new identity every week at this point.
Yeah. At the same time, though, like you put up 15 points a game. 3 games in, they said, no, we got to try something else. And you could still keep some elements of that, but the thought was, well, we lost Javonte too. We might as well just pound the inside zone, build the play action off of that instead. I don't know. Maybe we go back to like the Brett Rippon says that Mike Shula says that everything changes every 3 weeks. It's like, yeah, there's your 3 weeks there. It's time to try something new.
Time to go back to it.
But then, I mean, look what the 3 weeks has been since they've done
exactly.
that. And now
that's why we're asking for a change again.
Scrambling to do something else. It's a bummer. All right, let's hit the next Whiteboard Wednesday. Dump it to Dulcich.
So there was a play you guys might remember. You might have seen a screenshot where Greg Dulcich was standing wide open and the seas parted and he could have caught the ball there for a first down.
That went viral, I think.
It did go viral. It did. So he didn't get the ball on that one.
Took about 30 seconds. Actually, not even 10 seconds.
Yeah.
We sat there. We was like, oh, this screenshot's going to pop up on
say, people
I had Twitter open.
Ready to screenshot.
Yeah.
I had Twitter
now.
open. You said that. I was like, no, it already is. Look, it's right there. But yeah, you may have also noticed that ball to KJ Hamler. He's like coming across the logo and kind of bouncing. It's like, did he catch it? Did he not? You could kind of see from one of the angles that Greg Dulcich, like the ball flew right by him. It's like, oh, Dulcich kind of seemed open there. He was open. He was open on third down right at the sticks. There's actually a third time where Greg Dulcich had been able to make just a little move, stand right in the middle of the field, hands up on the third down right at the sticks. You gotta feed him the ball. Like he was getting open every single third down, and not once did he wind up with the ball. So, I mean, in general, give the ball to Greg Dulcich. Like, they gave him 70% of the snaps in that game, a little more than 70%. It was one snap for Salbert. There was nothing for Alberto. He basically took those 2 roles. Blocking, work in progress. But he is actually a good receiver. And on these third downs, whether it's Russ, whether it's Rippon, in particular on third down, get him the ball.
And that's where Russ has struggled, is finding those things right in the middle.
Yep.
You hope that that's very much emphasized. And I'm curious to see how teams approach Greg Dulcich moving forward, because like you said, the Chargers, they didn't care about him.
Nope.
And I would think that teams would adjust and give a lot more to him. And if not, though, you're absolutely right. Hammer Dulcich.
And if you finally have another threat, or teams think that there's another threat, well, maybe you're not going to see Courtland Sutton double covered again this week, or maybe Jerry gets a little bit easier matchup. So if they do double cover him, if they do whatever, that's a good thing too.
Yep, it absolutely is. All right, let's hit this next one. It is play slapjack.
Yes. Do
that
you guys
game.
know slapjack?
Yeah, you slap it when
Yep.
it's a jack.
Yep, the cards.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
How would you describe the speed of that game?
Very fast.
Very fast.
Yes.
A lot of slapping.
It's a quick game. The Broncos need more quick game, just like slapjack. It is the biggest thing missing from this offense
Imagine
right now.
K1 with that club.
Yeah, there you go. He would really get some slapjack. It's the biggest thing missing from this offense right now, and Hank pointed it out, I think, yesterday. Early in the game, when they had two very successful drives, it was there. You had Dulcich in the flat when he got his head ripped off for no call.
He did.
You had quick out to Jerry Jeudy, I believe, at one point. It looked like a real offense that was attacking the field at 3 different levels. And the Broncos are not attacking the short passing game at all right now when push comes to shove, because instead of trying to get that quick gain on first down, they're just saying, okay, well, let's just go run, pass. You have to add that additional element of throwing. I would love to see there's no reason why Russell Wilson can't be a successful RPO style quarterback.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to redo the whole offense, but use some RPO. Allow Russ to make a simple read. Everyone's talking about, oh, he's not getting through his progressions. That's what's so great about RPO. Essentially, you have 3 reads, but it's only 1 pass read in most scenarios.
Right.
It's just, are you going to keep it? Are you going to hand it off? Or are you going to throw it?
Yep.
Simple stuff. You talk about simplifying the offense. I would love that. And you can do that whether it's a slant, whether it's a bubble, could be both, a flat kind of stick route, like whatever it may be. Get the ball out of Russ's hands quicker, and it'll open up this offense a lot.
My question, I completely agree. My question, though, is can you do that this week when and if Russ is clearly limited and can't run? So then there's only 2 options of the quick pass or the handoff?
Absolutely. The Philadelphia Eagles won a Super Bowl using RPO with Nick Foles as their quarterback.
More mobile than Russ potentially right now.
He didn't ever run it, though, is my point.
Okay.
RPO doesn't have to be a 3-level threat. It can just be a 2-level threat. Run or pass. And it doesn't have to be 2 options on the run. You can hand it off or you can throw it. So you like to have that third element because it catches teams off balance and you can kind of pull it out when you need it most, like the Broncos were, at least with zone read in the fourth quarter against the Chargers. But this is just the type of stuff that I really expected to be in the offense.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is going to take Russ to a whole other level, just adding some of this easy stuff that I thought Nathaniel Hackett was going to bring with him based off of some of the things you see Aaron Rodgers do in Green Bay. Haven't seen it. Got to get the ball out quick because Russ is so good at passing the ball vertically. And teams are just saying, okay, well, we're just going to take that away.
Yeah.
Right.
There's been no worse time in NFL history for that to be your strength.
Yes.
Like everybody's playing 2 safeties back. It's like all cover 4 everywhere. You just have to start making the short passes.
But even, the Buffs this week with Owen McCown and JT Shrout looked at those 2 high, way off looks and said, okay, we're just going to start throwing bubbles.
Yep.
And it worked great for them. Now, I realize it's a different game.
Yep.
But, the fact that a college staff, an interim college staff, was able to identify that and get to it and make it work immediately is just to show you how simple some of this stuff really is. You have to force them to get closer to the line so then you can unlock that longer stuff.
The other tough part with that, though, and with the bubbles, but also with some of the wide zone, your receivers are not blocking well. Like Courtland Sutton is a good blocker, and this game was kind of like an aberration. But there was the one play, remember, where we looked at each other and was like, why didn't he pull that and just throw the bubble?
Yeah.
Well, KJ Hamler and Jerry Jeudy were blocking, and based on what we'd seen in that game, those 2 blocks were not going to get made. So that's the other tough part there is you want the bubbles. Oh, those aren't the most well-rounded receivers. And you want to run the wide zone, well, you better do it to Courtland Sutton's side because if you go behind Jerry Jeudy, you know what's going to happen.
Fair enough.
All right, let's hit this next one. Answer the cues. I'm talking about the 2 biggest cues that the New York Jets have. That's Quincy Williams and Quinnen Williams, specifically him. How cool is it for that family, though. 2 brothers.
Pretty cool.
That's
Those
sick.
guys are brothers, both
Yep.
playing not just on the same team, but starting on the same unit. 1 linebacker, 1 defensive lineman. Quentin Williams is a good linebacker. He's a starter. He had put
Quincy.
up Quincy.
Yep.
Yes. I'm sorry. Thank you. Quincy put up 14 tackles a couple of weeks ago, but the Q I'm really talking about is Quentin Williams. He was the 3rd overall pick in the 2019 draft because people thought he was going to could be the closest thing to Aaron Donald that the NFL has seen since Aaron Donald came in. Now, he has not lived up to that in his first few years, but this year,
Yep.
he actually looks like that. He has been a monster. He leads the NFL for defensive linemen in pressure rate and sack rate, better than Aaron Donald this year. And in the game last week against the Jets, I mean, he was, or against the Packers, he was the reason that they won the game. It wasn't anyone on offense. It wasn't anyone else. It was Quinnen Williams. He had 7 quarterback pressures, 2 sacks,
Sheesh.
and just 34 pass rushes. So he was getting after Aaron Rodgers like crazy. He is a beast. And then you look at the Broncos' offensive line and the struggles they've had. And I don't know what the answer is, but the Broncos better figure it out, because my first instinct is you have to double team this guy. And if you're double teaming him, that means you're using Lloyd Cushenberry and one of your guards. But where have the Broncos struggled? At A-gap blitzes. You're just instantly going to open up a hole for the Jets right there. So then you have to have Melvin Gordon or a very good pass protector in there in order to pick up those blitzes. Quinnen Williams on his own provides a massive problem. But then once you think you figured him out, I think he's going to open up more problems for the Broncos offense, and I'm really scared about what he could do.
You know the way you take Quentin Williams out of the game?
How?
The same way that you should be able to get Russ in the game. Get him away from the middle of the field as fast as you can.
Yeah, but can you do that this week?
I would think so. I mean, the injury, I
Well,
guess,
that's
is
what
the
I'm
question.
talking about.
The injury, yeah,
If you
who knows?
can't, then Russ can't play. But I don't think his hamstring is going to be, he can't move at all.
Okay.
Because the one thing about all of those Jets pass rushers is they're all just massive. Like, they're big guys. Like, more often than not, there's collapsing the pocket. When they're getting in the backfield, a lot of the time, it's little twists up front and the stunts and all that. And the Packers did a horrible job passing all those off. The middle of that line was confused. And the Broncos have had issues with some of that stuff. I don't think it's to that level. So that kind of concerns you. But the good news is there aren't these like super fast edge rushers who are coming around trying to make plays. It's just Quinnen Williams. It's Vinny Curry, who had an awesome game. There's that other big defensive tackle there. But that's the part that I find a little bit comforting, is that there's still no speed rush. You should always have a second and a half, 2 seconds if you are able to contain Quinnen Williams and you don't just get beat off the snap.
And maybe, Brian, in our whole conversation yesterday and today about where Russ is at and should an injured Russ play, I kind of view it as how limited what Russ was against the Chargers in the second half. That's how I'm viewing Russ going into this game. So maybe he does have Wolverine's blood, and he's going to heal that quickly, as Russell Wilson said today, or he's going to heal quickly enough where he can be moving to that effect. And then you're absolutely right. That's the game plan. But I was just thinking of Russ's injury being so bad that he can't really do that, since he wasn't doing that in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, he still moved around, but who knows what it's like after, it tightens up and all that jazz. Heck,
We're not talking about the Jazz today.
Oh, fair enough.
We do not like the Jazz today.
I mean, Dustin Hopkins was perfect with a hamstring injury, so.
And
He sure
that makes
was.
me think of the
Out 2 to 4
AFC Players of the Week. Dustin Hopkins, AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Just ridiculous that he got that. Deserves it, but ridiculous.
Speaking of special teams, Jets blocked a field goal, scored a touchdown on a blocked punt.
You know who scored the touchdown?
Will Parks.
Will Parks,
Billy
it was.
Will,
Yeah. That's
He
the other
tweeted
piece.
today, did you see?
No, what'd he say?
He said something like they had a chance to keep me twice, SMH.
Oh,
I love it.
But that was the difference in the game. Like,
Yeah,
sure, the
yeah.
score is lopsided, but those were the plays that swung everything.
Well, and then also with that, Quinnen Williams, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Broncos get him next. All right, let's hit our final whiteboard here, and it is get hung.
Yep.
Whoa.
It's time for Brandon Johnson.
Oh,
It's time for Brandon Johnson.
Let's go.
Yep. You just need a spark, right? Like, Dulcich provided a spark. And because of that, the offense looked solid early on. I think there's more in that tank. You should keep him in there, keep doing that. Give Brandon Johnson his chance. He made a whole bunch of plays during training camp, in the preseason. I mean, what does that mean? It means you're probably taking away 10, 15 snaps from KJ Hamler. Sure. I mean, and really,
Can he block?
we're going to find out.
Because, like, I'm almost thinking, like, what's Seth Williams up to?
Yeah.
Like,
Tyree Cleveland?
Tyree Cleveland. Yeah. But just get me a body out there that can get in someone's way.
Brandon Johnson's so fast. He has such good hands. Just, part of the problem is you watch what Aaron Rodgers did last week, and a lot of his game, and it's the same with Russell Wilson if he's been playing, he can just give guys chances. Like, he's not necessarily, like, clinical, but he knows where to put the ball. It's like, this could be a great play, but who knows if he catches the ball. You know, the Greg Dulcich drop in the end zone is one of those. Just throw balls up, see if Brandon Johnson can catch a couple.
But Hank, I love it, but Brandon Johnson's not only hung, he's
young.
He's young.
He's young.
And it's just not going to happen this week because he just signed to the practice squad yesterday. He hasn't been with the team and in the building for over a month now. I love where your head's at. It's just not going to happen.
There's a package. Give him a package.
Package for hung?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
I'm cool with trying things from a wide receiver standpoint. It's actually really tough watching Jerry and KJ try to block. Henry, you sent us a couple of clips last night.
I sent some good ones.
And, I mean, they're just not physically gifted in the way that you need to be able to block people.
KJ wants to block so badly.
Yes.
You give him that. Like, he
got a little bulldog heart.
When he got smoked by Derwin James and Derwin just stood over him, you're just like, you know what? This is a win for KJ.
Yeah. And a lot of blocking is just
maybe
like...
not a win.
I'll give him the win. There's nothing else you can ask of him. The heart is...
It reminded me of... I think I've told this story before where I was trying to impress my coach, and he kind of said before the practice, like, hey, if you guys want to play this weekend, you got to show me something in practice today. And so at the end of the practice, we were doing bull in the ring, and there was a dude on our team who was legitimately twice the size of everyone else. Monster. Andrew Hyde. And I went bull in the ring, called him out, trying to show something to my coach. He got both of my feet well off the ground.
Yeah.
Fully leveled me. But I did start, so...
Hey,
I earned like that. It was a win for me.
Exactly.
Just based off of the desire.
Yep.
The desire to call out the best.
Man, I so wish I could play in the NFL for many reasons. But when I played football, it was bull in the ring. It was Oklahoma drill. It was all that BS that is just not allowed in the NFL.
I'm sure
now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure bull in the ring has been out of the NFL for a while.
Yeah,
but it's definitely still happening in youth football.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty messed up that those things are allowed at younger levels, but not in the
because there's
NFL.
no governing body that's making the rules.
Like every August, there's like 3 clips that come out of kids just getting absolutely smoked, and then all the responses are, "No, you can't do this. This is awful. What are you thinking?"
Yes, this coach should be fired and put in jail.
Oh, remember the one where they're like running around? They had to like run around the whole team and then come and collide.
No, oh my. And they're like
so they would have like a whole
Dizzy
line
first.
of the team, and then one guy would start on one side, one guy would start on the other, and they would run. Or no, they would be back to back. They would run around it and then turn and then just.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad. Something that's not bad though. Our friends over at Game Time gonna get you the best tickets, and unfortunately, you can capitalize on a 2-4 Broncos team because tickets are looking good over at Game Time right now. You can get some great seats at good prices, and even if you think the Broncos are gonna turn it around, get in now and go see a game when the getting is good. You can get tickets to the Jets game. You can also get tickets for after the bye. Broncos still have 3 opportunities to beat AFC West teams at home, so make sure to click the link in our description. Whether you're watching on the podcast side, whether you're watching on YouTube, we've got the link there. Using that link really helps us, and it also just takes you right to where you need to be. So click on that link. Get tickets for the Jets game. Allie's pulling it up here. The interface is so nice. Under $100 for this Jets game, so make sure to check it out. Also, check out their flash deals when you're there. That's Game Time, and click on the link in our description.
Go to the Avs game for $50 tonight.
Oh, there we go.
Not bad.
Nice.
Nuggets on Saturday for $22.
Ooh, I know. I gotta buy some tickets to that.
Yep.
I've been holding off. There's no reason.
I was gonna go, and then I'm due. Like, there's just so much going on. There's too many games.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna miss the Buffs.
Okay, see, that's where you lost me.
Well,
yeah,
you're. I mean,
I'm ready to go watch Nikola Jokic.
if it were the Grizzlies, you would feel the same way.
But I just don't know what that feeling is like. 1-5, 1-6, 1-5. Never mind. We don't need to go down that road. We don't need to go down that road.
You're pretty close to knowing what it's like covering this team.
That is true.
Literally one
That
game
is
off.
true.
Yep.
That is true. Go get yourself some meat from Hassel Cattle Company. All sorts of different beef. It's a Wagyu beef ranch down in Texas. It's all like obviously like put together correctly, no hormones, that sort of stuff. And you can get yourself some franks. You can get yourself some steaks. There's like all sorts of different kinds of steak. I don't know them. You can get some hamburger. You can get some beef sticks. You can get some jerky. Wagyu beef bacon is very popular. I still haven't tried that one, but it's all good stuff. So make sure you check out HassleCattleCompany.com, especially the packages. The packages are the way to go. And use the code DMVR20 when you check out because you'll get 20% off your entire purchase. That is code DMVR20 for 20% off.
I did some Wagyu beef bacon wrapped strips.
Ooh.
And they went hard.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Yes. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No, that's it.
All
That's
right.
it. We need to talk to the people.
I wasn't confident. I thought that's what I saw. But all right, let's talk to the people. And let's get with the super chats first. The first one comes from Ian B. A lot of this isn't solely Hackett's fault, but it is an answers league, and I don't think he's got them. Worse teams have moved on from better coaches.
Not this quickly. Never, ever, ever. I guess once this quickly. And it was the guy on his third try with the Rams, whose name I should know.
With this, you're not counting the one where the guy got fired in the preseason?
That was him.
Okay, it was him.
Yeah, that was him.
That's the only other one.
Yes. Everybody else has gotten at least like 11, 12, 13 weeks or something
So
like that.
that would mean the bye week would even be before that.
It would be.
My only thing with Fire Hackett is if you say it, you just have to have I want to hear your plan.
And you wouldn't really get a great plan. I mean, the plan would be, let's see if Evero can do this.
Yes, but also who's calling? I mean, I guess we came up with the plan earlier, so
Yeah, we did.
everyone has a plan now.
That is true.
Next one from JWC924 says, how did Hackett not take advantage of an injured kicker and ice him while he was attempting a kick?
I've actually seen this take out there a little bit. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could give you a better answer than I just don't think he thought of that.
Man, because just to get to what the commenter's saying, every time Hopkins kicked, he fell down after and was in so much pain because of the hamstring. Now, Nathaniel Hackett did ice him at the end, but he did it before he even started his kicking motion. You know how you can time it where you time it and then they kick and then the kick is up and then he falls to the ground and that forces him to do another kick in 40 seconds? That would have been really smart.
Yeah, the other thing is, let's say he misses the first one. Everyone's saying, why did he give him another chance? The guy was hurt. You gave him 2 chances to loosen up his whatever. If you lose, whatever decision you made was wrong.
Yeah, and these are the little things that maybe a head coach is able to pick up on if they're not focused on calling plays, on making all of the adjustments in the middle of a game.
Yeah, I'm still when I hear that out loud, I just go back with Hank. Like, especially now that he's shown he's not good at this stuff. If he's not calling the plays, what is he doing here?
Jerry Rosberg is doing most of the other stuff. Like all he does is provide vibes, like fire people up.
And
You
that
know,
just
there isn't
that
a whole
only
lot
works
else.
when things are going well. You know, like when things are going terribly, no one wants to be around the guy who always has positive energy.
But there are a lot of coaches and successful coaches that don't call plays.
That is true.
And you don't like question.
No, but
why
they're good at the
there.
other stuff.
Yeah, well, maybe Nathaniel Hackett, that's what he needs. He has too much stuff on his plate.
Could be.
Yeah. At the same, like Bill Belichick, it's like he doesn't put up with bullshit. That's his contribution. Like everybody knows that this is how you do things.
And they're
like all
scared
these
of him.
Broncos bullshitty things, that doesn't happen. And so you have like, with all of them, there's at least something to point to. And the other thing is, I mean, he hasn't put together a strength in 6 weeks. It's terrifying for sure, But that doesn't mean that there isn't one thing that we're going to point to 2 months from now and be like, you know what, he's actually pretty good at this.
Russ is obviously getting hammered for his progressions. I think there's just a chance that he doesn't necessarily have the progressions down pat yet.
That is possible.
I mean, they're still pointing to it's just taking time with this offense.
Right.
And so you as a fan, we as analysts can decide how much leeway do we want to give him. Was it was there no leeway? Was it 4 weeks? Was it at the bye week?
And Russ has built in unlimited leeway.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be from us, but I'm just saying we can try and not give him leeway as much. The leeway is unlimited.
Is 5 years?
Yes.
4 more years?
So you have to you have no choice but to give him leeway, or you just be more mad and that he's getting it. But that's where it's at, and I really do think when a quarterback has been in an offense long enough, they just know things so much more. Now we don't know exactly what is going on in this offense. Whose plays are they really calling? But you look at the one with Dulcich wide open, like you would think you look to the right and you just know in the back of your head, okay, as soon as you saw that linebacker on the right side sink a little bit, you just know that Dulcich is going to be wide open. I just don't know if he's processing the whole offense at that level yet.
Yep. And if you'd told me this offseason, like the Broncos offense is going to have growing pains 6 weeks in, I'd be like, oh, that's a bummer. Adds up, though. The problem is how bad the growing pains are. Like you would think
that it's going backward.
True. Yeah. But I mean, the fact that they're like dead last, that's the concern. Like if they were 20th right now, finding a way, putting up close to 20 points a game, like you're like, you can figure it out. At that point, they probably have a couple more wins too. It's not necessarily how long the growing pains are lasting. It's starting to become a part of it. Mostly it's just how terrible those growing pains are.
My issue is that we're starting a whole new set of growing pains with a new offense. Because this isn't the offense that they were practicing in the preseason and in training camp. That's where I'm worried. It's like, okay, well, we're not getting through any growing pains because we're just starting fresh.
Yeah, it is crazy now when you think back to training camp and how often you come back here and you're like, you should have seen this play they were running. It was incredible, like the end around or like this little bubble that's with these personnel or whatever it is. And now you look and all creativity is basically out of this offense, and it's because they want to get back to the basics, or who knows, maybe the fans and media just chased them out of it because you have the Beck shovel pass that doesn't work, and there's like a few of those loud ones where you're like, oh, this is terrible, he's in his bag too much. But now there's no bag at all. There's no offensive creativity, and the lack of creativity isn't working either.
And it's just,
that's what scares me the most.
And Hank, you were so excited about so many of those plays in training camp, and I was like, yeah, those are cool, but I feel like we've seen it the past 6 years in training camp. Things look so much more exciting. There's so much more. Now there was a little more juice to it too, but then I've just saw it so many times where they get scared and they go right back to only the basis conservative.
Totally.
I was hoping it didn't happen here, but it has.
And that's where you see the Jets. All these plays they're running with Breece Hall and Michael Carter all over the formation. Like, it's
formational creativity is out the window completely.
Totally.
And there's an age-old saying in the NFL: you can only call what you can protect. And I think that's a big problem right now.
Yeah, it very much is. Preston says, lock under Hackett, worse or better? Showed immense potential under Rich Scangarello as offensive coordinator until Fangio and Pat stepped in. Instead, he looked like he was trying to make plays instead of game manage.
So the question is Locke better or worse than Russ?
No. Would he be better in this system than he was in the Shermer system?
Yes. Well, what system are we talking about?
The tough part for me is that like he isn't a great fit for this. Going through progressions quickly, like seeing things pre-snap. I do think it's a better system still, though.
Yeah, that's the new system, though. The other system was like get under center, run play action, and hit over routes. True. And that was what Drew did the best in that 5-game stretch at the end of 2019.
Yeah, but if we're talking about the opposite and what Russ is doing now and trying to be a pocket passer, then yeah, Drew would be worse.
Yeah.
Next one from Patriot Tech says, the inmates now run the asylum. Wow. NH?
Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't love the metaphor.
No.
But it is in terms of getting convinced if that's what happened, or at least the optics are, Melvin Gordon called his own shots,
Right.
called his own number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did.
I don't think he did. I mean, he probably said play me, but I do. I don't.
How do you
I have
go
a tough
from
time-
not playing to starting?
I don't. See, that's a big question, and I have no idea. But I don't think it's because Melvin Gordon said start me. I think there was another weird thing that happened.
Yeah.
Like he has changed his mind. He realized, like, I don't know what it is, but I don't think he was talked into it by Melvin. I'll say that.
I sure hope not.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
not either. BK says, I know Caden Stearns is a safety and is injured, but does he have the tools to play corner?
Oof.
I know this guy's hurt, not in the building, and can't play, but is he better than
No.
who they have?
No, I mean, he did play, I think, a little bit in college, and probably got in the slot some.
Yes, he
but
did do that.
No.
Yeah, he's not an outside.
You're better off. I think it was you. Was it you, Henry, who tweeted out that the Broncos are one of the teams considered to be in on William Jackson?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. No, that's the Panthers. No. Who does
Commanders.
have Commanders. Commanders have William Jackson.
I think.
And, ESPN had their big insider-only preview story from yesterday, trade deadline preview story. The biggest note was that teams are calling about the Broncos tight ends, and that the one getting the most calls is Alberto.
Take him.
Exactly. I mean, go swap some sevenths, and it's time to ride Dulcich. But yeah, the William Jackson's in there. They also mentioned the Seahawks are trying to get rid of. They have too many corners now because their young guys all popped. And they have the oldest one whose name I'm blanking on. I don't think there's another deal with the Seahawks, though.
Really?
I don't think so.
The Seahawks love doing business with the Broncos.
They
earlier
sure
this
do.
year.
You can't be trigger shy on who you trade with just because you feel like you might have made a bad trade with them.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have the relationship, you probably
True.
tap it even more. I don't mind the William Jackson. I actually really like the William Jackson move. But the reason he wants out of there is because he considers himself press man corner and he doesn't want to play as much zone. What I like about that idea is he's good at that. And so you can play press man on one side with Pat Surtain all day, and you could play it on the other side with him. And if you can do that with two corners, it's pretty much my favorite defensive weapon you can have in the NFL. It's two guys who can play, who you can trust in man, like really trust in man.
Yeah.
And we obviously know they have the best one. So
Sidney Jones.
the thing
from
is,
Seattle.
the thing is, the Broncos, I don't know. They don't really need to change anything on defense. Even with Damari Mathis out there, they gave up 16 points in regulation.
Yeah. And my thing is, I wouldn't trade for William Jackson this week. And if they lose, I wouldn't trade for him next week. You kind of have to get to that 4-4 mark heading into the bye to be adding, I would say.
Oh, there's no doubt. You're not adding it 3-6 or 2-6 or 3-5 and even 4-4. It's not like you're going to be selling everything to go get guys.
Totally. But you can at least say we have a massive hole on this side of the field. We can patch that.
Jared says, how does this era compare to the World of Suck era?
It's worse.
It is worse. The expectations were higher, so there was farther to fall.
Yeah. Now,
We're halfway through the first quarter.
That's what I was going to say. I truly believe this could turn at any moment.
Totally.
I know no one wants to hear this right now, but I think I've said this before. We didn't expect them to be in this phase, and that's why it feels so bad.
Yeah.
But it's the old Bobby Bowden. First you lose big, then you lose close, then you win close, then you win big. They're in the lose close phase right now.
They sure are.
At some point, hopefully, they're going to move to the win close phase. And that is, they are in the process of building a program. Obviously, Bobby Bowden was talking about college, but that's what this team's trying to do. They're trying to rebuild from, where they've been over the last few years. So at any moment, there could be the thing that clicks for them and they start to win these games.
Yep.
All of them are one possession games in the 3-point games in the fourth quarter. They've, if they just won one more, they'd split them.
Exactly, and that's the big thing. So it would just feel so much better if they could have, pulled out this last one at the end. You don't fumble, you just get that last field goal. You one of the toe taps hits in Seattle. And like that's all woulda, coulda, shoulda at this point. But 3-3 is a totally different world than 2-4.
It is. But also, it's not crazy to say that the Broncos could be
True.
0-6 right now too, if you want to play like the
Or
ball
6-0.
bounces one
Yep.
way or the other way.
Of course.
Yeah, like that's. I mean, they're all. What did you say? 3-point games in the fourth quarter. Doesn't necessarily mean they're all 50-50 games, but they're pretty close to it.
I mean, Russ today said 5 of the games have come down to 8 total points, and people are getting pretty sick of what
Totally.
Russ says, so that's probably something that's just going to add to that fodder.
Yep.
The almost touchdowns that he talked about, those things. So I know no one wants to hear
It's
it.
just
Yep.
true though. Like, and I said it when I started this. No one wants to hear it, but this team is really close. Just doesn't feel that way because everyone thought they were already there.
Totally. Chargers are a good team. Took them to overtime. Blew it. They've blown a lot of games.
Yep.
Colts are a bad team.
True.
Lost in overtime at home.
Did do that too.
Yeah, I mean the defense.
49ers
is just,
are a good team. Beat them.
Yeah, the defense is just good enough to keep you in every single game. So, you know, it keeps feeling like it's only going to get worse. I just feel like it can only get better.
Well, I do warn you about that because Broncos have the toughest remaining schedule.
I know. I'm just saying
Something.
in terms of the quality of football they play, and the defense should be able to keep them in those games.
Should be, yeah. You hope, and we'll see when they play teams with really high-powered offenses how much they
They just
expose
did.
Damari
True.
Mathis.
If they had Keenan
the
Allen.
Chargers.
And if they had one more of their linemen and they had Keenan Allen, I'd give that to you. There's that. They're a tier below.
Yeah, Chargers aren't in the elite.
They're
that-
they're 10th
I don't think
best.
you guys would have been saying this last week.
Yeah, no, I would. I think Justin Herbert has been good. Really
Yes.
good. He hasn't been
Yes,
elite.
and Austin Eckler.
You're preaching to the choir, but
I'm not sure if they're
still
fringe
considered a
top 10.
high-powered offense.
Fringe top 10, top 12-ish
Yeah,
right
I
now.
agree with that.
And if they'd had those 2 more players, then I give you maybe top 5.
Yeah. All right, two more super chats.
I wouldn't make the case for them to be top 5, but I would
Okay.
say they're a high-powered offense.
Okay.
Watch Me Squatch says, tonight Denver becomes a basketball city. Go Nuggets.
It's a sports city.
Not wrong.
And next one from Ben says, the temerity
I don't know, I can't
of
see it.
Gordon to whine after fumbling. Shake my head.
Yeah,
I think we can imagine what temerity means.
that rubbed me the wrong way as well.
Yeah, no, just don't do that. You know, and it's the same thing with Melvin. Like, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. Sometimes that's a lot of fun. A lot of the time, you say, you shouldn't be so honest.
I can't think of a time when it was fun. Just being honest.
That's fair.
All right, let's hop into the comment section and get to as many as we can. First one coming in from Kendall Henton, Hall of Famer, says, I'm looking at the schedule, and it's hard to find games where you say this team, as it looks now, should win. The Panthers, sure. Maybe the Jags. We lose to the Jets. Maybe Chargers or Raiders again. Shaping up to be a 6-win team, maybe 7 if we're generous. Someone pointed out to Hackett, Javonte wasn't good enough to warrant benching Gordon and avoiding splitting reps, but Latavius Murray was good enough to do so. It's not like Hackett didn't know what Melvin was with the fumbling problems going into this year, or could have put Melvin on the bench in week 2. It's a reflection of Hackett's conscious decision that Gordon should take reps away from Javonte, not Latavius, and it's the millionth sign of his ineptitude when millions are crying, praying, and begging to just see a few signs he isn't unimaginably horrible at this job. We'll keep waiting for anything.
I don't love that argument. Like, I get it, and I understand the frustration. Like, it's an easy thing to see, like, hey, how does this happen? But you don't have all the data points early on.
Yeah.
Like, every week you learn more and you learn more and you learn more. It's not Madden, you know? It's not like you get, oh, he's this.
Right.
And so things do learn. Does that mean maybe he misevaluated early? Yeah, but who had Melvin fumbling, 5 times in 5 games, or four times in 4 games, right?
But it's not like it all happened in one game.
really easy.
You
5
had-
and 5 going back to
5
last
and
year.
5.
You had
okay.
a lot of games in order to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't play Melvin, especially when I have Javonte to rely on.
Well, that's
and
what
we
they
saw
got
one of those.
to. They had reached the
Raiders,
point
yep.
where they were saying we're done with Melvin, and then Javonte got hurt.
Yep.
Because they played Melvin in the second quarter before Javonte was hurt.
But
What
not
I'm
a
saying-
lot. Like, there was an obvious
but
difference.
he was not totally benched
No.
like he was with Latavius.
What I'm
Totally.
saying was after the fumble, I truly feel that was the end.
Okay.
I thought he was
that.
getting cut that week.
Yeah.
Yep. But, I mean, we said a billion times, this has been a weird situation this week with Melvin. Why? What? None of that makes any sense. And now starting this week doesn't make any sense.
Next one's from Arvada Luke. Hey there, fellas, and ultra producer Allie. Well, the Vibe bus got a flat tire, but we can put a spare on her, but I wouldn't drive around on it for more than a week. Everyone diagnosing the offensive woes again has me thinking. It feels like the mistakes are all happening additively rather than anything overlapping. For instance, if coaching messes up 10% of the time, Russ messes up 15%. Some of the other offensive player messes up 15% of the time. You'd expect that some of those would overlap, and we'd have a mess up less than 40% of the time. This feels like we're getting our full 40% or whatever. I'm no numbies, which feels like really bad luck. Kari Vincent Jr. is available for pickup and could be an interesting cornerback to bring back, especially since we got Matt Henningsen with that trade return, and he got a sack already. Would love what that would do for Peyton's narrative, just pillaging picks for nothing. Yeah, he already got Trinity Benson back too. Or we can get Chris Harris Jr. back and give him his old number. Didn't
Can't
he
do
sign
that.
somewhere?
He is on the New Orleans Saints.
Yep. For the next few games, I'm going to focus on the aspects of football that are always great: the food, the drink, the weather, and being with the people you enjoy being with. And of course, it never hurts in that situation if there's a football game on. I'm no doctor, but you can all consider that a prescription. Cheers, AL. That's what I've been saying about the Buffs for years.
Yep. And, I mean, going back to the other stuff, there was, like, Dalton Reisner was beat clean, would have been a drive-ending sack. Cam Fleming gets called for a false start. And so it's like, he got bailed out of that one. And then there was the pass interference to Sutton that extends the drive on the next. So there's a couple that overlap. But I do think he's right. It's just every play, one thing goes wrong. Yeah. There's a couple where there's more than one, but that also means there's a lot of people who need to play better.
Bronc Oilers says, I think we are so far beyond the world of suck at this point. We're in a galaxy of suck. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought we would be in such a bad spot. Russ looks like a declining player, and we're not doing anything to mitigate his shortcomings, especially as far as his issues with seeing the middle of the field. Our coaching staff seems completely in over their head, even on the people management side. Melvin was benched with absolutely no communication between he and the coaches, even after Hackett's Monday's availability. This is a bad leadership and management look. Even George Payton is suddenly in a terrible spot with a bad football team and a lack of draft capital and not many valuable assets to help us acquire more picks either. I'm slamming the panic button. This is terrible.
Yeah. If this is a galaxy of suck, I mean, which it is all terrible. Like, I just want to know what happened to Browns fans when they had, like, their big fall off in, like, the 90s and then just were terrible for forever. Like, I wonder what point of that are we in? You know? Where it's like, how does it get worse than this? Like, how do the vibes get even worse than this? Because they did for another 15 years.
Well, you think that, and then you get Russell Wilson,
totally.
And you start 2-4,
yeah,
and you don't have any future draft capital and you can't go get a new quarterback because you can't dump Russell Wilson. And we're not just in year one of this, though.
No.
Okay, so I have a question about Russ, because there's the narrative that he's washed, but the main narrative that's out there right now is he's not making his reads.
Yep.
Those two things are not connected.
True.
You don't, like, your mind doesn't get washed.
Yeah, but if you, and this is...
So I'm just saying, like, which one is it? I know the answer to this, but it feels like people are trying to use Russ struggling with his progressions to make it that Russ is washed, and I don't think that's the case at all. I just think he's really struggling with his progressions.
Well, Russ has also never been in a system where they want him to be a pocket passer, and if Russ wants to play at a high level until he's 40, not even 45, going crazy, or if he wants to play until 38, or even just beyond a couple of years, if his mobility has really gone down, he does need to win from the pocket. Winning from the pocket means being able to go through 3, 4, 5 progressions, and if you are mobile, you don't need to do that. And Russ has bought himself so much time, and Russ is so good when he's on the move. If he's not that, then not being able to go through his progressions is his decline.
As of right now, and maybe this is overreacting to like the last 2-3 weeks or whatever, number one concern is, like, in terms of the Russ era in Denver, number one concern is the progressions. And you factor in like all the pre-snap stuff too, where it's like you got to see where the blitzers are coming from. Like, it's very obvious. You know, Derwin James sack, you have Cortland Sutton open right behind him. Just dump it right over. So that sort of stuff is number one. Number two is just his body. Like, are we hitting the point where his body is just breaking down? Because that happens to every player. It happens to quarterbacks. We saw it with Peyton. It happens to mobile quarterbacks even faster. Maybe this is, again, overreacting the last 2-3 weeks. could kind of be the beginning of that slide, though. So number 2 concern right now is that. Then number 3 is just like the washed. He can't move as much, which is a concern, but that's where that fits in for me.
Fair enough. And I thought you did a good job of kind of illustrating that point. My thing is, if you were expecting him to be a pocket passer all of a sudden overnight, you were just expecting something completely unrealistic.
Yeah,
So what I would
fair.
say is he's eventually going to get better at that.
That's fair.
And the other thing is, when he has acted like Russ, it looks great.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you know, this year is going to be tough because of the injuries. But I think there's just some grand takes being put together that aren't necessarily being thought out. The progressions is a huge issue. It doesn't work hand in hand with him being washed. It's something that he has to progress upon.
I think my biggest concern with all that is his height, which it feels terrible to say. Like, that feels like something we stopped saying like 5 years ago, because it's like, no, it doesn't matter anymore.
It's a John Elway move there.
Yeah, but there's a real chance that, like, he just can't see. Like, he might just not be able to see well enough to be able to go from there to there to there quickly and make 3 reads. And I'm not, like, I think there's a 15% chance that that's the case. Even that's a pretty high number given the circumstances, contract and all that. I do think that a lot of that's just going to get better, and he can work on the pre-snap, all that. But it is tougher to believe that all of that stuff's just going to come together when you can also say, yeah, he's 6 inches shorter than the guys in front of him. How's he going to go bang, bang, bang when there's people in the way?
Man, someone had a question to Russ today, and it kind of took a little bit to build up the question, but I think it was turning into a good question. It was about like checks at the line, and I don't remember who asked the question, but it was about checks at the line, and is that kind of offensive line? Is that him? How's that going? But he didn't know how to finish the question, so this is almost word for word. But he said, like, Russ, is your vision at the line still good? And Russ was just like, yeah, it's good. Russ gave a couple of, like, FU answers today, like shrugging off answers today. He's getting fed up with the negativity.
One thing that I would also have people check in on is how these West Coast coaches are doing right now.
Really bad.
It feels as though that offense needs a counterpunch because defenses have solved a lot of it and made it a lot harder. I mean, let's look at just scrolling through some of them. San Francisco, 19th overall. Green Bay, 24th overall. The Rams, 25th overall. This is scoring offense, by the way. I mean, those are. Remember what I just said. Kyle Shanahan. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. We're talking about Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, and obviously number 32, Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett running that same system. That system is struggling right now.
Yep, it really is.
And
that's going to be up to the individual coaches and Nathaniel Hackett to figure that out.
And it's not just those. I mean, those offenses struggling more than others, but it's across the league where, I mean, this is the fewest points per game scored since 2009. It was 21.5. Right now it's 21.6. You have obviously Tom Brady comment, bad football. Fantasy football scoring is down 22% this year versus last year. Like, there's this massive retraction in offense everywhere. But yeah, it is specifically here too.
Even Minnesota, who we think of as KOC, is doing a great job there. They're 14th in scoring offense. It's just,
which is,
so maybe that's one of the reasons why Nathaniel Hackett's changing up what he's doing, because those concepts are not paying off right now.
How do you have all those weapons and get to 14th? Like, you kind of get it with some of the others. Where it's like the Packers, it's like, oh, yeah, you don't have the receivers. Like the Broncos, new coach, like, obviously not that bad. It shouldn't be this bad, but you have some of that. With the Vikings, like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, that tight end, Dalvin Cook. Like, how are you there that far down there?
Is Dalvin Cook that good anymore?
He's top 10, yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah.
He's not that good.
No, but Justin Jefferson,
Jefferson is insane. Yes.
He is. But even this year, you look at the numbers and you're like, insane or just like top 10, you know?
Has he come down?
Yeah. I'm not sure what exactly. Okay.
He was. Well, he didn't get anything in that Eagles game. I don't know what's happened since then.
Yep.
Okay. I know week 1 in the first half he had like 140 yards or something crazy.
All right. Should we hit a couple more?
Yep.
One more? How many?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. Lead me.
Coach Tobin says, I will refer to this team as the Denver 16s. Russ needs to become a part of this team and leave this delusional part that he is bigger than the team. Be the quarterback and be the guy in the locker room. I assume he is not doing so. My take is that this whole primetime scheduling week in and week out is messing with the team. Coaches and players have got to be off routine with how every week is different. Nothing or noting that being on TV every other week has got to be an issue. I know I will get pushback because they're professionals, but it is a thing. I will give you some credit on that about not being in a routine. It's been a weird 6 weeks, and Nathaniel Hackett has not been afraid to admit it. And then next week they go to London. The first 8 weeks of this have been very weird, but that is a coach's job to manage that. And the primetime thing, that's not something I can get behind. Players should be up for primetime. That should be something that gets them juiced. So I don't buy that, but I do see what you're saying about the routines being different.
I do think that this team has a confidence issue, and I think that the brighter the lights, the more nervous you get.
Oof. And just an identity issue where, like, I think that comes up in games, too, when you're getting – like, it'd be nice if you just went into it saying, like, yeah, we're just going to run all over them. Like, we're just going to run all over them just like we do. And instead it's like, we'll see if we figure out.
Works.
We'll see if we find something that works. Like maybe we're gonna be throwing the ball, maybe we're gonna be running the ball. Like it must just be very confusing to be a part of that offense. Yeah. On top of just disappointing.
I mean, I go back to my take that if everyone in Broncos country is nervous during the games, obviously their players aren't feeling the same way, but I just feel that energy is carrying over. I think that they are also feeling like, man, we always screw up something right around here.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's what you
Totally.
brought Russ in for. And so far he's delivered
Twice.
Yep.
And, you could talk about the Raiders game. He delivered in the fourth quarter, big-time drive, never got the ball back. They took the ball out of his hands in Seattle. So there's a world we live in which, he gets those chances and the narrative is different, but we're not in that world.
No, we certainly aren't.
All right. That's going to wrap it up for us here today. Plenty of time to come down, hang out for the Nuggets game tonight and the Avs game tonight. So good night down at the bar. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up on your way out, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.